The Counterattack Diary of the Reborn Sister-in-Law. Chapter 1 The Horror of Coming Back from the Dead. In the foggy early morning, Su Chenjiahu's eyes slowly opened, but not on the bed she was familiar with, but in an antique bedroom. She looked down and saw that she was wearing an outdated pink cheongsam, holding a handkerchief that had long been dusted. The memory in her mind was like being forcibly replayed. She died tragically. Then, she dressed up as the little aunt in a chronicle who died early, named Su Chenjiahu, who died before she was 30 years old. Outside the house, my mother and stepfather were talking secretly, and the voice came into my ears through the thin window paper. Chenjiahu's pension must be divided quickly, otherwise that little milk baby will have another point at that time. Su Chenjiahu's heart was cold. A 3-year-old child? That is the future male protagonist? She took a deep breath and a sneer curled up on the corner of her mouth. Since she has traversed into a dead little ant, let's first scare the greedy mother and stepfather to see how the pension in their hands is spent. Chapter 2 The First Cry of the Deceptive Corpse. During dinner time, Su Chenjiahu appeared in front of everyone for the first time after being reborn. The lights on the table were dazzling, her mother Li Suyun's brows were slightly frowning, and her stepfather Shenhua was sweating in her palms, secretly praying that her aunt was just distracted. Chenjiahu? You? Are you back? Li Suyun's voice trembled, as if he was about to collapse. Su Chenjiahu smiled coldly, his fingertips slightly white. The pension you are discussing, I'm afraid you have to think more about me, my aunt who came back from the dead, right? Li Suyun screamed on the spot, and Shenhua's legs fell to the ground. Su Chenjiahu's carefully imitated breath of the dead frightened the two of them as if they had been struck by lightning. Chapter 3 The Secret of the Little Milk Baby. A 3.5-year-old baby named Yayuchen was sitting in a stroller playing with blocks. His eyes were clear but unusually sharp, as if he could see through the conspiracies of adults. When Su Chenjiahu appeared, he frowned slightly, and then giggled, "Auntie." Su Chenjiahu was stunned for a second, and his heart warmed. It turns out that this little boy will be an upstart in the business world in the future, but now, he is isolated. There was no father, no mother who loved him, and even grandma was just fighting for his pension for money. Su Chenjiahu held his hand and said softly, "It's okay, my aunt is here." Chapter 4 Pension Conspiracy. As time passed, the competition between her mother and grandmother for Yayuchen became more and more fierce. Su Chenjiahu deliberately appeared in front of the two of them, pretending to be a ghostly existence, and every time they appeared, they were terrified. How should this child's pension be divided? Grandma asked through gritted teeth. Who dares to touch my sister-in-law's money? Su Chenjiahu sneered, his tone with a majesty that could not be provoked. A pension distribution battle has changed dramatically because of the appearance of her fraudulent corpse. Chapter 5 My Sister-in-Law's Counterattack. Su Chenjiahu gradually grasped the situation. She pretended to disappear and secretly protected Yayuchen at night. Every time danger comes, she always shows up in time to let those greedy adults reap the consequences. Yayuchen also began to know how to use his wisdom. At the age of 3, he could actually understand the calculations of adults, and even quietly left clues to his aunt. One night, Su Chenjiahu found a letter in her study, and the content surprised her. The letter said that the real reason for her father's death was not an accident, but someone deliberately set up a plan to seize the family property. Su Chenjiahu secretly swore in his heart, "I have died once, this time, I want to seek justice for you, Yayuchen, and myself." Chapter 6 Midnight Adventure. Outside the window of the room where Yayuchen was sleeping, the moonlight poured down like a silver waterfall. Su Chenjiahu squatted by the window, staring at the dim alley on the corner. Suddenly, her eyes were drawn to a flickering shadow, a little fox with a snow-white body and silver dots on its tail, as if it did not belong to this era. The little fox stared at her and let out a soft cry, and then turned into a ball of light and slowly projected onto the ground, forming a small rune array. Su Chenjiahu's heart beat faster. This is not a mortal thing, but an ancient protective magic that seems to tell her that Yayuchen's fate is more complicated than she imagined. At this moment, the window was knocked loudly, and a hurried voice came from outside the house, "Chenjiahu, save me! Save me!" Su Chenjiahu was instantly alert, clenched his fists, and smoothly tucked the light of the rune array into his sleeve, as if he had grasped some kind of power. She whispered to the sleeping Yayuchen, "Don't be afraid, my aunt is here." Chapter 7 My Mother's Conspiracy Rises Again. Li Suyun and Shenhua's greed has reached its peak. When Yayuchen fell due to a minor accident, Li Suyun even secretly planned to let his child suffer minor injuries in order to gain sympathy and money from the outside world. However, Su Chenjiahu was already on guard. She quietly sneaked into Yayuchen's room and placed a miniature magic talisman next to the bed. The rune flashed, which could sense danger, and the rune would warn anyone who tried to harm the child. Sure enough, in the middle of the night, Li Suyun secretly reached into the room, wanting to take the child away. The rune suddenly lit up, emitting a dazzling light. Li Suyun's whole body froze like an electric shock, screaming again and again. Shenhua rushed over after hearing this. but was also shocked by the runes, and the two of them were embarrassed, even their voices were panicked. Su Chenjiu stood at the door with cold eyes. Your tricks will not work in front of me from now on. Chapter 8 The Wisdom of the Little Milk Baby. Although he was only 3.5 years old, Yayuchen showed surprising intelligence. He knows how to observe the psychology of adults and uses small objects to leave secret codes. For example, he would put a candy on the windowsill, and Su Chenjiu knew that he was hinting at someone approaching the room when he saw it, or put the blocks together in strange patterns, which actually hint at dangerous directions. Su Chenjiu secretly sighed in his heart, this child must have an extraordinary future, and the wisdom of a 3-year-old is far beyond that of his peers. She decided that no matter what, she would protect the child until he could protect himself and until the truth was revealed. Chapter 9 Her past and future are intertwined. Su Chenjiu occasionally sat alone in the study, looking through his diary. Every page of text is like a reminder to her, in this life, she is no longer a passive victim, but a person who takes the initiative. At the same time, she also began to use her memories of the future to secretly invest and plan to pave the way for Yayuchen's future. Even if she is only a 3-year-old child, she can feel the sinister business world and people's hearts that she may encounter in the future. One day, she found a folded note with strange symbols drawn on it in Yayuchen's stack of blocks. Su Chenjiu recognized that it was a guardian talisman left by the ancient family, echoing the rune in her hand. This means that their family's past hides more secrets, and Yayuchen may be the key. Chapter 10 Bloody Fight. As the competition for pensions intensified, Grandma's methods began to escalate. She quietly contacted outsiders and even hired some street gangsters in an attempt to forcibly take Yayuchen away. However, Su Chenjiu had already expected this step. That night, she appeared at the entrance of the alley like a ghost, holding a flickering talisman staff in her hand. The gangsters were so frightened by her sight that their legs went weak, and even Grandma was almost stunned by the light of the talisman staff. Yayuchen stretched out his little hand from the window and snickered at his aunt. Auntie, I have a way. Su Chenjiu nodded. It turned out that he had hidden a miniature sound transmission device in the building blocks, and the gangsters had not yet approached, and had been recorded by surveillance and used as evidence in the future. Chapter 11 Turnaround and Accident. Just when things seemed to be stable, an accident broke the peace. A secret letter left by Yayuchen's father revealed the true truth of his father's death. It turned out that he was not simply sacrificed for his work, but was framed by his peers, and some even secretly manipulated the entire family assets. Su Chenjiu's heart was shocked and he realized that this was not just a competition for money, but a conspiracy between the family and the business world. She squeezed Yayuchen's little hand and said in a low voice, "What we have to do is not only protect you, but also expose the truth." Chapter 12 The Secret of the Ancient House. Su Chenjiu took Yayuchen back to his father's old house before his death, where the dust was thick, the furniture was old, and there were several faded family portraits hanging on the walls. The little milk baby squatted down, stroked the dust on the floor with her fingers, and suddenly her eyes lit up. "Auntie, there is a strange door here." It was a hidden wooden door, which usually seemed inconspicuous, but Yayuchen hit the crack of the door with a block, and the door shook slightly, revealing a gap. Su Chenjiu was shocked. This may be a secret passage left by his father. Pushing open the door, they find a secret room containing ancient family documents, bizarre runes, and undisclosed investment records from their father's lifetime. Su Chenjiu's eyes narrowed slightly. It turns out that my father has already prepared for this day, and what he is afraid of is the conspiracy within the industry and the family. Yayuchen pointed to a document with his little finger. "Auntie, I understand, we can use these to defeat them." Chapter 13 The Ultimate Conspiracy of My Own Mother. After Li Suyun and Grandma noticed that Su Chenjiu and Yayuchen had entered the ancient house, they panicked. They united with outside lawyers and underground forces to plan to directly take Yayuchen away and force Su Chenjiu to hand over the pension. However, Su Chenjiu had already made arrangements. The runes in the secret room glowed when Yayuchen touched them, forming an invisible barrier that isolated outsiders. When Li Suyun and Grandma came on the field in person, the runes flashed even more dazzlingly, and the world in front of them seemed to be deformed, and even the floor trembled slightly. Su Chenjiu said lightly, "Greedy people will one day be devoured by their own desires." Chapter 14 Yayuchen's Wisdom Counterattack. 3-year-old Yayuchen was already familiar with the rune system arranged by his aunt, and he held a miniature sound transmission device in his little hand and secretly sent a recording to record the conspiracy of his own mother and grandmother. "Auntie, we can let them expose themselves." His childlike voice was clear, but his eyes were firm. Su Chenjiu smiled and nodded, and the two cooperated, using the rune shield to protect the secret room while passing the evidence into the hands of the lawyer and the police. Less than a day later, Li Suyun and her grandmother's conspiracy was exposed, and they were forced to confess all their actions, and even the underground forces retreated due to conclusive evidence. Chapter 15 The truth about the family is revealed. In the secret room, Su Chenjiu and Yayuchen flipped through all the information left by their father, and finally pieced together the complete truth. 1. Yayuchen's father actually had a layout for a long time, intending to protect Yayuchen's future. 2. There was a secret deal within the family, and the death of his father was deliberately framed. 3. The pension is not their only asset, and the wisdom and investment left by his father are the foundation for Yayuchen's future rise. Su Chenjiahu squeezed Yayuchen's little hand. You will become a stronger person than your father, and I will always be by your side. Chapter 16. The Ultimate Showdown of Bizarre Things. Lee Suyun and her grandmother tried to break into the secret room for the last time, but encountered an unprecedented phenomenon. The furniture in the secret room suddenly came to life, the bookshelves moved slowly, and the eyes on the ancient paintings flashed, staring at them like living creatures. The little fox runes also turned into pillars of light, trapping them and preventing them from moving. How is this possible? Lee Suyun screamed. Su Chenjiahu appeared from the shadows with a cold expression. Greedy people are no match for wisdom and justice after all. The pillar of light enveloped the two of them, and as the rune energy dissipated, their plots were completely eliminated, and the family returned to peace. Chapter 17. The Rise of Yayuchen. As the crisis is lifted, Yayuchen begins to show extraordinary talent. Although he is young, he can use runes, strategies, and investment knowledge to gradually manage the assets left behind by his father. Under the careful guidance of Su Chenjiahu, he gradually grew from a little milk baby to a future upstart in the business world, with wisdom in his heart, justice in his hands, and love in his heart. Su Chenjiahu looked at Yayuchen, and the warmth in his heart flowed like spring water. My rebirth is not only for myself, but also to protect you. Chapter 18. The Ending. Many years later, Yayuchen became an internationally renowned entrepreneur, while Su Chenjiahu became a family guardian and mentor, and the bond between the two was indestructible. The conspiracies and shadows of the past have been completely erased, and the former mother and grandmother have reaped the consequences of their greed and have been discredited in society. Su Chenjiahu stroked Yayuchen's hair and said with a smile, everything is finally back on track. You are no longer a lonely baby, and I am no longer a helpless aunt. Yayuchen looked up, his eyes full of wisdom and gratitude. Auntie, thank you for giving me the best future. The two looked at each other and smiled. The sunlight shone through the windows into the ancient house. The whole world seemed to be washed. The bizarre past became a legend, and the story of rebirth and protection came to a perfect end. Postscript. This is a story of rebirth, wisdom, and protection. Su Chenjiahu came back from the dead, no longer just the little ant who died early in the novel. She changed her destiny with courage, wisdom, and strange runes. Although Yayuchen was young, he used his intelligence and innocence to stand side by side with his aunt, and finally defeated greed and conspiracy. Everyone's life may encounter darkness and bullying, but true protection and love can cross life and death and turn destiny around. Bizarre and miraculous, as long as you have wisdom and courage in your heart, it can become a reality.